Hey guys, welcome or welcome back. Tisha here, back for another segment of It's Getting Real. This is a place where we explore the stories behind tragic crimes. Go ahead and do me a favor and hit the like button as we jump into this. She lost her life in the most unexpected way. She should have been protected. Instead, she lost everything in what should have been a safe place. Now, this story is predominantly about Christine Belford, but I need you to understand that her friend Laura lost her life as well. Christine Belford was born on November 22nd, 1973, to Kathleen Belford. She grew up in Wilmington, Delaware. There, she was known for her infectious smile and vibrant personality. She's been described as beautiful, easygoing, caring, loving, warm, and kind. She graduated from high school and pursued further education at a business college where she received her degree. She also was a part of her local Catholic parish. There, she taught for the kids. So we don't know a whole bunch of details. I try to look, but there's not a lot out there. So we'll just say that she got married in her 20s, right? I don't know the specific age. I'm sure I could probably do the math on it, but she got married in her early 20s. With that man, she had a beautiful daughter. After realizing that it wasn't going to work out, they both decided that they needed to separate. During that separation, they actually became closer, maintaining a healthy co parenting situation for their daughter. Now, that following year, in the spring of 1999, she met a man by the name of David Matusevich. They met at his optometry practice when she began working there. Now, David is 6 years older than Christine. He was educated and attractive to her and successful. He was previously married, so they had that in common. If you're looking on the screen, David is the man that has on the glasses in the middle of the picture. That is David, all right? So they start dating and she fell for him and quickly. Ladies, gentlemen, people of the world, be careful of that honeymoon period because it will have you fooled almost every time. David seems like this solid guy, but he's got some issues of his own. So after dating for 2 years, they tie the knot in October of 2021. They honeymoon in Maui. She has babies very early on in marriage. They buy a house. They are in the suburbs and they are living their life. From the outside, everything looks like it's perfect, like they're just this great suburban family, but all isn't well. And it's not because he's physically abusing her or anything like that, but it's because she's going through some other issues, right? She's going through some other things because there are two individuals that are constantly causing problems for her. That is Thomas and Lenore, David's parents. Those two individuals are at the bottom of that four pictured screen in the thumbnail. So those two people are causing issues for Christine, along with some other things, right? They didn't like her. They did not approve of the relationship. They did not feel like she was good enough for their son. In my opinion, they were overly involved in their son's marriage. They shouldn't have taken so many vocal, they just were too comfortable. They were too comfortable. They should have been comfortable to say some of the things, to vocalize certain things that they did to them, right? Okay, so all of this is going on, right? And in 2003, their second daughter is born. 2 months after that second daughter's birth, the parents are having financial difficulties. So the parents decide that they need some help. The parents that do not like Christine, the parents that have been rude to her multiple times, the parents who felt like she wasn't enough for their son or that her parenting style wasn't good enough, well, those parents move in. Christine is better than me because they wouldn't be moving in my house. You are not to about to cause any type of division between myself and my husband just because you're struggling with your finances. Something else would have to happen. Maybe we would have to move you into an apartment. Maybe we'd have to rent you out a room at somebody else's house, but you would not be coming into my house if you have a problem with me. So they originally claim, oh, don't worry, we're only going to be here for 3 months, but it's much longer than that. They move in and they are even ruder than they were before. They take over everything, including the way that Christine parents her children. So it is now to the point where she has no input, you guys, when it comes to raising and caring for her own kids. That also wouldn't work for me. That would have gotten their butts kicked out. But David does not want his parents to go. And the longer the parents are there, the more Christine's marriage that already had a little bit of cracks, because David isn't all together there either, begins to suffer even more. It got to the point where she's in her home and she's walking past David's mother, Lenore, and she wouldn't even speak to her. Do you think you're about to walk past me in my own house and not speak to me? So you can imagine how tense things were. The energy in the house was probably very negative, very heavy, very depressing to not just Christine, but her kids as well. So after 9 months, she lets them know they got to go. They left, but them leaving didn't really improve things because damage continued to be done and because they still were having input through David. At this point, Christine is experiencing depression. She goes on medication and David doesn't like it, which is another issue because why wouldn't you want your wife to be functioning at her highest self? Why wouldn't you want her to get help, to seek treatment if she is struggling in this way? David starts to do questionable things. He has a problem with her getting help, but he's the one who's telling her that he is hearing voices in his head, saying things like he's capable of eliminating people and that he could bury her if he wanted to where no one would find her, that he thinks he can control what people think. This, of course, scares Christine, and she decides, like, I gotta go. I have to go. So after 5 years of marriage, she files for divorce and she leaves the home in 2006, right? All she wants from that home is her share of the equity in the home and an agreement on how it is that they're going to raise their children that they have together, right? Because they got to raise their girls. She was able to be on good terms with her first daughter's father, with her first husband, and she hoped that she and David would be able to do the same. But that wasn't the case. And she ends up leaving the home with nothing. She doesn't want to uproot her kids, so she leaves the kids for now with their father. If they were my kids and he's telling me that he's hearing voices and I'm seeing the way that they are maneuvering with me, I would not let my kids stay there because men have this way of doing things to children to get back at women. This is a family affair. So if his father is doing it and his mother is doing it, then understand that David is doing it too, right? So Christine moves out and she goes to live with her grandmother. David wastes no time to move his parents back into the home because he didn't want them to go in the first place. David tries a little by little to lessen her role in the children's lives. He's not including her on the decision making process when it comes to the kids. He's not allowing her to see them when she's supposed to be seeing them. He's making those visits difficult. And when she does come over to see the kids, she's in a hostile situation because she never knows what David or his parents would do. At one point, David's father, Thomas, that's the one, the bottom left or corner, the one with the blue background behind him or turquoise, he shoved Christine against the wall and threatened to hurt her. A couple months after that, David claims that Christine's not fit to be a mom, that she has mental deficits. I hate when people try to use depression against someone. She was on her medication. She was going to counseling. She was doing well. Don't try to use that against her because she obviously is showing that she's a good mom and the fact that she's making sure that she becomes level enough to be able to support and be there for her kids, right? And show up. So the judge orders them to both go to psychological testing because you're saying this, he's saying that. Let's see what's what. It is determined that Christine is doing good, but David is the one that's not, because David is said to have this condition where he can only see the world from his point of view, and he couldn't be changed on his thoughts on that. That doesn't sound good to me, but even with that knowledge, there's nothing that they could really do because they do not think that David is dangerous. I just hate that things like this happen, right? So they get divorced in February in 2007, and the court decides that the parents should have joint custody. So at this point, the kids are going to go between both households, Christine's home and David's home. So we get to the summer of 2007. The kids are with Christine. David's like, look, I want to do something fun with kids. I want to take them to Disney World for 2 weeks. Is that okay? Christine's like, sure, you can go. That's fine. You can take them for 2 weeks. But what I need to make sure that you do is that you come back within 2 weeks because our oldest has to start school, right? Now, Christine said that they could go, not knowing that David's mom, Lenore, was going on the trip too, and that David had something up his sleeve. So Christine drops them off on August the 26th. They leave for Disney, right? While they're at Disney, she only hears from her daughters one time while they're gone. She continues to call. David is not answering. The phone just goes straight to voicemail. Now, the scheduled date for them to come back arrives, and they are not back. Christine, at this point, has no way of contacting her kids because no one is picking up the phone. So Christine meets with law enforcement, makes them known to the situation, and she decides, I got to file a missing persons report because my kids are gone. Christine does her own digging, heads to her husband's practice, and finds out from his business partner that he has not come back from the trip. A detective by the name of Detective Schreiner looks into things, and he finds out that David actually sold his portion of the business to his partner for $900,000. Now, I don't know about you, but if I hear that you sold your business for a significant amount of money out of nowhere and you have your kids with you, that there might be a much larger issue here. So detectives go to the house to see if they can find anything, if he's there, anything like that. And they quickly realize that everything in the house is gone. This man has left with no intentions of coming back. Can you imagine, as a parent, hearing that about your baby's father that currently has them? And he didn't tell you anything. He just disappeared. So detectives get a felony warrant for 3 counts of parental abduction against David. We know he has that $900,000, which means he could be anywhere. Investigators try to question David's father, Thomas, and his sister, Amy. His sister, Amy, is next to him in the glasses. He's in the glasses. Then it's Amy with her hair up in the bun, right? Neither one of them are helping with anything. They're acting like them being gone isn't a big deal. That already let me know these two people got to know something, because David's parents are married. You don't find it odd that you haven't heard from your son or your wife. You don't think that that's weird. You don't miss your wife. So at some point, since you seem so unbothered, then you're probably going to meet up with each other. So Christine finds out that David has not been paying the mortgage on their house, that he took out $250,000 in equity on the house. He forged her signature on financial documents in order to do so. And when they later looked into it, it was traced that some of that money was put into his parents' accounts. That money that was put into his parents' accounts was then later used for his parents, or should I say David, to purchase an RV. which now lets detectives know that not only is he gone, not only is his furniture gone, not only has he sold his business, but he now has a great way to cover up his thing and go anywhere because you can live in an RV. So they decide to put a bolo out for the RV, for David, for the kids, and they start tracking emails within David's family. It takes almost a year for them to locate Christine's kids. This woman went that long without knowing where her kids were. I cannot begin to imagine what that was like for her. I cannot begin to imagine the hurt and the harm that that did to her children, to her little girls. So investigators end up finding out that they are in Nicaragua. So on March 12th, 2009, Christine and the authorities end up flying out there to Central America. They find David and Lenore and they are arrested without incident. Christine sees her children and is reunited with them for the first time, and they look horrific. They are extremely thin, they are dirty, and they are afraid to be left alone. They've been traumatized because they were told by their father that their mother unalived themselves. So not only did he take these kids from their mom, but he added that she unalived herself when really this whole time she was looking for her babies. And here their father told them that, and now she's being reunited with them. So 9 months later, David faces 30 years in prison. David pleads guilty to kidnapping and bank fraud, and he gets 4 years in federal prison. That is not enough time. That is one of the major problems with this. That is why, in my opinion, we need to have tougher sentencing, because if he's facing 30 years and you give him 4, that's an insult. He took those kids. I ain't even talking about the fraud part of it. I'm talking about the fact that he took those kids without her permission, traumatized them, had them scared. 4 years? What is 4 years? It's another ball drop. 30 years you're facing, and you kidnap and you terrorize these kids, and you give him 4 years. Wow. So they give his mom 18 months. That's an even bigger slap in the face because she helped him kidnap those kids. She should get the same amount of time. So in the days following his December 2009 sentencing, David and Lenore begin their cybercrack, right? So it is found that from December 2009 to February 2013, the Matuzewicz family began to stalk through mail, email, internet postings, and more. They're making false allegations that Christine had abused her children, that she suffered from mental illness, and that she attempted to harm Lenore when really they attempted to harm her. They used websites and posted YouTube videos and sent letters to Christine Belford's church, her children's schools, the families, neighbors, friends, and relatives repeating their false allegations. Christine and her kids are scared, and they have every right to be because they were surrounded by this evil family. So now David's family is bullying her even more because they are mad because David is locked up, right? So in September 2010, Lenore is released from prison. She didn't really have to do much time. That's all it took, September 2010, and she goes to Texas. In August 2011, the family court of the state of Delaware determined that David's parental rights while he's locked up are over, right? He has to pay child support. That child support gets backed up. Because even though we know that he sold his business for $900,000, though we know that he gave some money to his parents, he don't want to pay. So a year later, David is released, he's on probation, and he moves to Texas to be with his parents. Then November of 2012, David files a petition to reduce the monthly child support arrangement payment that he owes for Christine. That petition results in them getting a hearing scheduled for February 11th, 2013, right? So Christine, even though she doesn't want to, is ordered to go to this hearing in New Castle at the county courthouse. She has a bad feeling about going here, but this is exactly what he wants. He wants a way to see her. So he gets permission from his PO to go to Delaware for this case. But no one realizes that his mom and dad are coming because he was supposed to be coming, excuse me, on his home. Between February 4th and the 7th, David, Lenore, and Thomas traveled from Texas to Delaware in two vehicles, a Honda CRV and a Honda Civic. When the vehicle is later found by police after the tragedy happens, they find ammunition, weapons, restraints, an electric shock device, gas cans, shovel, and a bunch of pictures of Christine's kids and her home. They've been scoping things out. As I said, Christine's dreading coming to this case. She does not want to go. She does not want to see this man. So she asks her friend Laura, who is in this thumbnail as well, if she could please come and support her. And because Laura is a good friend and because she knows that Christine needs some support, not knowing what's facing either one of them at this point, Laura decides to go. So it's the morning of February 11th, 2013. Christine drops her girls off at school and heads to the courthouse. As Christine and Laura walk in, a man comes from behind them and shoots them both. Just like that. Then the shooter and the sheriffs are exchanging fire. The shooter ends up, when he's quartered, unaliving himself. And it turns out that what happened that day was that David and his father arrived at the courthouse together. They got there at around 7:30. David goes in the security line while his father roams the lobby, because when you first enter some courthouses, you got a little bit of space before you have to worry about going through the security check, right? So shortly before 8 a.m., David goes through the whole screening process where he's getting wand for weapons and all those other things. And he proceeds to go to the floor that I guess he's supposed to go to for the case. His father stays in the lobby. He didn't need to be there. He was there for a reason. Why are you staying in the lobby? If you're there to support your son, why aren't you going up with your son? Thomas is the person that ends up unaliving Christine and Laura. David is arrested for violation of his federal probation because he was not supposed to be traveling with his parents. Lenore and her daughter act like they didn't know what Thomas was going to do. Lenore at that time is not arrested. And rather than being quiet, the lady continues to put things out there on the internet. Christine is gone. Why are you still putting out negative things about her? So on February 15th, 2013, David's sister Amy files a petition for custody of the three girls, which are David's girls. The check that she uses to pay for this filing was dated February 12th, 2013. So you wasted absolutely no time to try to get the kids, because that's what it's always been about, you guys, is the kids, right? The rest of them eventually get arrested. After a 5-week trial in the U.S. District Court of Delaware, all three are convicted in July of charges including cyber stalking, interstate stalking, and conspiracy. They were the first people in the United States convicted of this crime resulting in death. At the time of sentencing, David showed absolutely no emotion, while his sister, Amy, with tears in her eyes, apologized to everyone affected by the shooting deaths of Christine and Lori. Did you not think that your father was going to do that? Did you not know that your father and them had handcuffs and restraints and shocking devices and ammo and weapons and all these other things? You didn't think that your father, who liked to fire things, who was known to have these weapons, would do something like that? I don't believe it. She says, I cry for them every day and I pray for them every single day. Save those prayers for yourself. The prosecutors point out that the family engaged in a 3-year campaign of tormenting and stalking Christine in an effort to regain custody of the children of David. He says they left permanent scars in this community. Severe punishment for the defendant is absolutely warranted. This is the only way that the court was able to protect the children, because they were worried if these 4 individuals because Thomas is gone now. So let me say three. These three individuals, if they remain free, that they would go after those kids because this entire time they've wanted those kids. During their investigation, authorities found what the prosecutors call a hit list that was drawn up by the family that included names of judges, attorneys who had been involved in the family court disputes between Christine and David, as well as the name of the federal judge who sent David to prison on the kidnapping and bank fraud charges. They were going to do more damage. But because Thomas didn't make it out of there, they couldn't, because you had all that other stuff for a reason. It just goes to show you how far these people were willing to go. Unfortunately, I believe she has four total because they say three girls. So don't quote me on this on the amount, but I'm gonna say these multiple girls lost their mom, right? Kathy had no immediate family as her mother passed before all this happened, and she had no siblings. So, unfortunately, the kids were put into foster care, and I'm not sure what's come of them since this. Lenore died a few years later in May of 2016. Christine's legacy lives on through her daughters and the impact that she had on the lives of those around her. Friends remember her not just for the tragedy of her death, but for the light that she brought into their lives. In her honor, many of them have come together to raise awareness about domestic violence and the importance of supporting victims. And understand, domestic violence just doesn't mean you have to put your hands on someone, right? Because there were other things that were going on here. There were cyber attacks and things of that nature as well. Let us remember Christine not as a victim, but as this beautiful, talented woman who fought for her girls. Her story serves as a powerful reminder of the need for vigilance, compassion, and change. Thank you for joining me on this episode of It's Getting Real. Rest in peace to Christine and Laura. It's unfortunate that these women went through this. It's unfortunate that in that court, well, they didn't even make it to that courtroom. In that courthouse, they were unalived. And from my understanding, since that event, they did have tighter security measures. But it's a shame that it took a loss like this in order for it to happen. We got to do better at protecting people who are doing the right things and who are following the processes and not place them in harm's way. There was a reason why that man lost custody of his kids. There was a reason why he was put away. The fact that he showed you that he was kidnapping his children and that his family was willing to participate should have been enough for you to realize that he was a danger. But unfortunately, a lot of times people don't realize how bad it is until it gets to this point where someone is no longer here. And because of these people, we lost two women, a friend that was trying to be there for her friend and a mother that was trying to remain here for her kids. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Let me know your thoughts on this story. Until next time.